Hey, what's up, everybody? I am here at Sweetwater's Drum Month. We got a whole bunch of awesome content creators, and they're all going to swing by today, all drummers, of course, and we're going to just chat about stories and careers and content creation and gear. Just have some fun, hanging out with people that do the same thing that I've done for over a decade of my life. Today, right now, to kick off this video, we've got Siros Vaziri and Tim Buell, two awesome drummers, great guys, very inspirational people, which is why I wanted to chat with them and kind of find out about their lives and how they got started. So let's start with the story. Siros, what got you into content creation?
The simple reason that I was so sick of school, man. Because honestly, that's how it started. Because I was studying, the last... Full disclosure, I'm from Sweden. There's a lot of words that are not gonna be the exact same, but I guess you're equivalent to, I think, high school, like the last couple of years of school. What, ages 16 through 19? Yeah, that it's a different word and system in Sweden. But anyway, those last 3 years you could kind of specialize. So I specialized into technology, a lot of math. And I got very tired of school, and at the same time I was really starting to get interested in the idea of maybe making a career out of drums. So then as soon, the day I was done with school, I was like, I'm making my social media accounts. I'm going to figure this out and start posting videos, because I live in a small town. I don't really have gig offers knocking on my door. So it's well, if I want to get out there, I got to make videos. And that's honestly how it started. And then I just realized this is something I enjoy doing, found my way doing it, found success doing it. And almost exactly 10 years later, I'm here in this very nice...
there you go. The chairs, the gear. We're in such an amazing facility with Sweetwater. It's the things that content creation open up, the opportunities. It's really cool.
It's actually crazy.
And it's awesome to hear that perspective, because for me, I think being a content creator, the utter essence of it is to be someone who wants to go and get something and make something happen. You can't really, there's not often that you find success in content creation if you sit back and just hope that a video or two is going to really blow up for you. It's you got to grind, you got to want it, you got to go for it. And your story of I want to change my life, I want to do something different. So you did, know? And I think that's really cool. And Tim, for you, I know you've been doing it a while as well. What got you into the idea of content?
Yeah, I guess I started YouTube and Instagram just by happenstance. I just had different things where I was well, I could put this somewhere, and it was just kind of a real passive, when I thought about it I would do it. But at some point I noticed that I really wanted to get better at recording, because all I do at this point essentially is record drums and record people at my home studio. And at some point I realized, because I'd only ever toured my whole life, I didn't I knew how to play drums, but I didn't know how to record drums. So I was I have to learn. And it was just really hard because I didn't have the work yet, but I wanted to be able to get the work. So I realized I could use Instagram as kind of a little accountability partner, where I could be okay, I want to try to record something that sounds like XYZ. And I could record it, edit the video, do that whole thing, upload it. And it had it gave me more motivation to actually do it as an experiment, because it's well, this is going to go out. I need to make this as good as I can. And I need to actually do it and finalize it and be done with it. I feel a lot of people with content and just the era we live in, where everything just lives on a hard drive, and you recorded it, but it's not done, but it is done. But I feel Instagram and actually having a final living place for it was very helpful to motivate me, and also very helpful for me to find a skill set, see it through to the end, and be okay, that's done. Is it perfect? No, but I'm going to do it again. And now I've learned so much. I learned so much about mixing, about editing, about videos and lighting, and so much stuff that Instagram helped do, and YouTube and all this stuff. I have so many other skills that I've been able to use in not just making content for myself, but for other people. And it really did help me learn skills kind of on the job. And it also then does, you're talking about, it does actually go out into the world, and people go oh wow, you record drums, can you record drums for me? And it's yeah, I can. And it's, it all kind of plays a part.
I think there's two really cool things in that story. It's amazing. You think of content creators as all being very unique and different, and that is true. We all have our unique stories and such. But like a lot of the main storyline behind like where we are today, why we have the opportunities we have today, all fall into some of the same lanes and categories. And you just mentioned two of them. First, it is the fact that like content creation is something that you learn by trial and error. You know, like it's not something that you just wake up one day and you're amazing at lighting, you're amazing at audio. Like, sure, maybe you learned some of those things prior to becoming a content creator, but for most of us, like it was like, we're going to learn as we go. We're going to fix, we're going to be okay with a mistake. We're going to figure out a way to make it better. I mean, and the second part of that is the doors that learning all those skills open for you, because sure, I've made a living like doing content through the years, but I also made a living from things that opened because of the things that I learned for content. I've also been paid to run and track sessions, and I've also learned to build studio gear and put together a studio and record. I've also learned how to do videography and go out and get paid to do videography for commercial purposes, for personal purposes, for performance purposes. It's so cool how like if you are interested and you are driven to learn and to expand your horizons, to open doors for yourself, it opens more doors than you could even imagine. Like it wasn't just getting like, you know, air quotes here, famous or, you know, becoming popular on social media. It's also like expanding your horizons. So
yeah, and being unafraid to, because I feel like a lot of people, they'll be like, I want to post this kind of video, and they'll go on YouTube and search it. And sometimes I'm like, just skip the, like, you just start with something that you think might be the first step and try to figure it out from there, instead of like when I was putting the flooring in my studio, I watched like so many like put flooring in your house type things. Yeah. And like, it was helpful. But like when I finally sat down to like actually put the flooring in, I was like, man, none of these videos like apply to exactly the issues I have in my room. Yep. And it's like, you really do just like have to like do it.
I think it's a very human thing that people are always sort of looking for, not necessarily an excuse. It can certainly be that they're looking for an excuse to kind of not get started. Maybe they haven't really decided if they actually want to do a thing. Yeah. But a lot of times it's like this takes shape in different forms. It could be, oh, I got to get this piece of gear before I make this video because I want to make it count. I want to have the best sound. Or oh, I'm not ready to start this because I need to learn this thing first. And it's like there's always going to be a thing or a piece of equipment or something that you feel like is hindering your potential, right? You just got to start. Like my first videos were shit. Like they were not good compared to today. And like you were saying, like learning on the job, that's my life story. Because like everything I've learned, recording, lighting, all of this kind of stuff, it's like all of that has come from one singular kind of philosophy. And it's okay, I made a video yesterday, I was happy with this, but not with this, so let me improve on that ever so slightly today, and then do that again and again and again, and 10 years down the road, thousands of videos later, would you look at that, I know what I'm doing now. I can make a living, I can go do other things vaguely related to that. What I pivoted to more now is like hosting drum camps and stuff, which is not anything to do with video or content creation, but in a sense, it's like I've gotten better at playing drums. I've gotten a network of people that are interested in coming to a camp, and I'm a better teacher. I'm all of these different things that all came from like starting making shitty videos 10 years ago and then ever making them slightly better each time. Yeah. That's how it goes. You got to start. Yeah. Whatever you have, just start.
And that is, once again, another incredibly important point, because here's the deal. Like, you are not going to have everything that you want or everything that you need or every single skill when you start doing this. You have to be able to understand that it is being creative and resourceful and telling your story through what it is that you do have. I mean, that example, like one of my first overhead angles, I was recording everything on an old school iMac, not like super old school iMac, but like the white square rectangle or whatever. And I was using the FaceTime camera on it, or whatever it was called back then, iSight. And I would like move the computer around the drum set because that was all I had. And that's what I was like, that's how I'm going to make a video. But I wanted an overhead angle. So I took a ladder and I got some 2x4s and I suspended the computer over the drum set with counterbalances on the other side to keep it from falling. And like, I look back on that and I'm like, I'd put a $1,500 computer or whatever it was back then, like over a drum set just to get an overhead angle. But you know what? It worked. Like, it's like, that's the kind of, like, you're not going to be able to afford a $5,000, cinema camera to start out. You might want to figure out how to use a GoPro, how to do what you want to do, or, and that's like, that brings me to my last question, which is, both of you, of course, have been doing this a long time. So you've leveled up your gear over time, but can you tell us a few of your favorite pieces of gear when you started that are like more affordable, or like if someone was really wanting to get started in content creation, what would you recommend?
Yeah.
And then what are you really proud of that you've upgraded to that has helped your content creation through the years?
I guess I can start.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, one of my favorite kind of investments to this day that I made very early was getting like a proper audio interface. And when I say proper, I don't mean like splurging like thousands of dollars on a crazy audio interface. I really like the Focusrite, like the Scarlett Focusrite stuff. So I still use, I got it very early in my sort of journey where it's like, okay, I need more than 2 mics or whatever. I can't have this little thing. I need a proper interface. And that was like $500 or something. It's not a crazy investment. Get this 18920 Scarlett Focusrite 18920 audio interface. That's still what I use.
One myself.
It's still what I use. I was gonna say I've upgraded it to like a newer generation, but actually now that I think about it, I haven't. It's still the same one. It's like the second generation. They're on their 4th generation now, I think. It still works perfectly. And that does, I think, I mean, you can probably tell more about this kind of thing than I do, because you're more of an audio guy than I am, at least with outboard gear and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I get the impression that especially like audio interface, it's such a crucial thing to be able to do like multi-track recording and get a good sound for Instagram or whatever. You can use like a Yamaha EAD10 or something like that too. But if you want to have separate tracks, you want to get into mixing and that kind of thing, you need a decent audio interface. But my question to you then would be, in my head, an audio interface is kind of far down the list of an important investment outside of functionality.
Totally.
Like, because some people are going, oh, like speaking of procrastinating, getting started, it's like, oh, I would need to have a really good audio interface.
Right.
It's like, no, you don't. You need one that has enough inputs and that's practical and that's consistent, like a workhorse. Then later, when you know what you're doing, sure, now you can put $4,000 into like a high-end, no signal disruption, no latency, whatever. But I'm not even at that point yet. I can get a good sound on my drums. I still don't feel the need to upgrade my audio interface. So that's like my go-to investment for in the beginning, for sure.
Great, especially for drummers.
What was the other half of the question? I mean,
if you have like upgraded your gear, which I know you have in some ways through the years, like what is it that you're really proud of that you thought made a huge difference to your content creation that was like, oh, this is a game changer for me. It was a great purchase. As an upgrade,
I want to say, just because I'm a huge like cymbal nerd, so I want to say just like a cymbal setup that I'm really happy with. Does so much for me. I'm not like, it's like some guys love collecting snare drums and stuff, and they'll switch snares in and out of every song or every video or whatever. I keep the same snare. I have like 2 snares, and I only use one pretty much. But cymbals, I'll switch in and out depending on videos every now and then, but really it's like when you have that setup you're really happy with, like a high-end cymbal setup, it makes playing so much more fun, dude. Like even if you can have the same thing with a great kit, but even then, like you can get a cheap kit to sound pretty good if you know what you're doing with tuning and fresh heads. But like when you have a high-end lineup of cymbals, it's just
for sure.
Like it plays itself in a whole different way, and that takes time to build up to. So I'm really happy with that. And I have a relationship with Meinl now, of course, in recent years, but so that makes a difference, of course, as well. But yeah, cymbals is that's my jam.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, a good set of cymbals. I always say you can tune a kit, but you can't tune a cymbal.
Yeah,
and
pretty
much. If you got a certain budget, you better not blow your whole budget on drums that are 10% better. And go with cymbals that are 50%.
No, I usually
worse,
give that advice too. Like you can stick it with the drums that you have as long as they sound okay. You can get a lot more mileage out of them if you maybe change the 10-year-old heads that you have on them.
Yeah,
underneath as well.
Yep. There are things called
resonant heads.
Let it be known.
Well, I've never hit that head, so why would I change it?
Yeah,
because it does still.
Yeah, no, but a nice set of cymbals does a lot.
So it's, what did I start with that I really liked, and what did I upgrade at some point and really proud of.
Yeah, in a way, like what is it that if someone was trying to start out in content creation, what's something that's budget that's relatable to what you did that you think they should?
I mean, if you have a smartphone that takes video, you're pretty much there. Like,
that's
I
true.
think that's
Actually,
like the coolest part about it. And I mean, there are people that have like, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, there are people that have huge channels, make a full-time living, and they just like have an iPhone.
So the response to that would be proper lighting. And it doesn't have to be expensive lighting, but that's the thing for a phone is that you can use your phone, but you just need a little bit of lighting that'll help make it look really good.
For sure. But as far as like gear that I specifically started with, I had the same drum kit, a Tama Star Classic Birch Babinga. It was like my first like real drum kit that I bought.
Kit.
It's I mean, it wasn't my first drum kit, but it was like I was 16. I was actually starting to play gigs, and I was like, I want to like. My drum teacher had a friend who like was a serial, like would buy a bunch of new gear and then sell it all, and then buy a bunch of new gear. So it was a used kit, and I was like, yeah, I want it. And I played that from age 16 to like, I don't know. It was like my only kit for the longest time. It's been all around the country. I've played like terrible bar gigs for like 4 people, and I've played like festivals and whatever for like 30,000 people. Like it's been literally everywhere. Oh yeah. I use the toms all the time, but like now that I'm like so much in the studio world, like every
like
kit that everything is like it never matches.
All right.
But as far as something I upgraded to, last year I did a whole studio remodel, and I like redid literally everything. Like from the floor to the ceiling, everything is different, painted different floors. And like the big thing with that was like I want to upgrade not just to have like a place to record myself, but I want to be able to record like other musicians all in real time, like do live sessions. Imagine that, musicians in real time playing together. And it's like it was one of those things where it just feels so cool to walk into a place and be like, one, I got to work on it all with my dad, so that was cool.
Yeah.
But it's just a space now where it's like, wow, this is like really feels like a thing. And it was like cool because it's scary, like when you put a bunch of money into it and you're like, I'm already making a living doing this. Do I need to like do it exactly on this scale or whatever? And so it was the first time I took like a big investment in myself and was just like, no, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's cool and it's been great. And I've done
I saw your studio at your place like 5 years ago, and it was cool then.
Yeah, but I mean that was it just felt like a room and some carpet, and like again, like that just got me by for so long. But at some point I was like, no, I wanted to like really, when you walk in, be like, oh, okay, it's a studio now. So that was
I love that, and I love the like the DIY side of it, because I really think that falls back into the like you got to figure it out and you got to try and make it happen. And a lot of times you don't have the cash to pay someone to come in and renovate your studio, but it is possible to buy the right gear, to learn the processes, and to do a lot of that stuff yourself and make big differences. I built my own studio. You built your new studio. Like that's what it boils down to, is like a determination to, I mean, safety as well. Like, don't do things that you can't do, but there is also a level of, hey, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to learn. I'm going to invest in myself and invest in my career. So thank you both for being here. I know I got some more awesome drummers just waiting to jump in the chairs. And, we're going to keep talking. So
yeah, awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Siros and Tim.
Yeah.
Follow these guys on social media. Check them out. Awesome drummers. And I know you'll really enjoy their content. So
thanks,
let's rotate.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. So back for round 2. The musical chairs has happened. More drummers and content creators here. Super excited to continue this in the fancy brown chairs at Sweetwater Studios for Sweetwater Drum Month. This is Eric Proctor and Scott Pellegrom. And we got more things to learn from their stories, from their experiences. And that's what's fun about this. Like, for me, I do a lot of cool things, but it never gets any cooler than hanging out with people that like have done similar things, that have wisdom and stuff to learn. Like, it's so inspirational to hang out with guys like this. So let's get it started. Eric, tell me what got you into content creation. What's your story? And why should people like? What can they learn from that,
Yeah, I mean, I'm an educator. I teach full time. And so after college, I was always trying to figure out ways to play more, spending all day with my students. after work wanted to be like, oh, well, I did want to like, go play drums for people. And so I'd pick up gigs whenever I could get them. And then I would always try to, any free time I had, just as like a creative outlet, just like, if I didn't have a gig, or if I was too kind of overwhelmed teaching for a week, I'd be like, man, I'm going to go play some drum set. And I used to live in Florida. And so I literally would like drive to the beach. Some of my early videos, it's just me, like I park on Fort Lauderdale beach, throw my drums up, put my phone on like a little tripod, and just start basically busking. In my mind, I wasn't busking, but actually one time someone came and like gave me $1. I was like, yes, I did it. But
that means you're a professional drummer now.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
You got paid to play drums.
Yeah, because I lived in a tiny, studio in Fort Lauderdale. But if you're in Florida, it's so spread out. It's always nice out, and so I just started drumming outside, and had a lot of fun doing that. And then I moved to Philadelphia. It's a little more difficult to just kind of post up in the street in Philly and start drumming. People won't like that as much. But I'm still a full-time teacher, and I would still try to post whenever I can, really just not necessarily going for being a content creator, just like I want to drum. And so again, my guest room in my house, I'd put a practice pad and just play some drums or whatever. And then when COVID hit, there was nobody in the school anymore. I was teaching remotely, and so I had this whole back room of a drum set, basically a drum set studio in the high school I taught at. And I got a little bit more serious with it because one video on my YouTube kind of like blew up, but it was really just, again, my phone sitting on like the desk. It's like you can only see my hands. It's like 30 seconds long. Before YouTube Shorts, I just posted it. And it got, all of a sudden during that winter, it was like creeping up. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll start posting again. And yeah, just whatever drums I had, I'd sit behind and just start kind of using it as a creative outlet. It's like all I wanted to do was play music, play my drums when I wasn't teaching them. And when you're playing into the infinite void of a camera, it's like an audience, right? And so I just had so much fun doing it, and the viewership and all that type of stuff was almost secondary. I was just like, oh, this is an amazing way I can post, get people commenting like, hey man, you sound great. Like, oh, or a lot of times on YouTube, hey man, you suck. But that's the fun part too, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
And always trying to create this like what educational value I can provide, always from the pedagogical sense first, but also just like, so long story short, just I wanted to have an outlet to play my drums, and so putting a camera in front of me allowed me to do that.
Yeah. Well, there's two really important stories in that, and like important themes for someone who wanted to be a content creator, was thinking about it, in my opinion, is first off, the fact that you do it because you love it.
Yeah.
You don't do it because you're expecting a result.
Yeah.
Because if you go into it and you're like, all right, I'm going to do content creation because I'm going to be a millionaire, you're like, this is 6 weeks in, 6 months in, 2 years in, when you're like, I still am making way less money than I would be making in a normal job. You got to be like, I'm doing this because I love it.
Yeah.
And the second part is the results are secondary. The second part of that, the first part there, because if you do it for the results, then if you aren't getting the results, you're going to be burnt out.
Definitely.
And if you do it for the results and the results never come, then you're going to be dissatisfied.
Right.
But if you do it because you love it and you want to create something awesome, which comes to the second part of that, the value aspect. You said you were always trying to provide educational value. I fully believe that our content is worth nothing to anyone without putting value into it. And what I mean by that is, like, if you put something on the internet, onto YouTube, there are a million other videos they can watch.
Right.
So why choose your video? It's because you're giving them something of value.
Right.
So I love both of the things you said there.
Yeah.
And Scott, I'm sure you have something awesome to tell us as well. So let's hear your story.
I hope so. Well, that was inspiring hearing your story. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, like talking about doing things that you love to do, none of us said, I'm going to become the best drummer and make millions of dollars, like if that's like your goal off the bat, then like you're not going to get any satisfaction, you got to find things in life that you truly love to do.
Where's my millions of dollars?
Yeah, right.
or any drum skills too.
It is like, I joke and I tell people, but like I literally have been like the man living in a van down by the river at times in my life, like starting when I lived out west and stuff. Cause I was like, whoa, if I don't pay rent, then, like I can live
buy
in a
more
van,
drums.
I can have more money, and then I can, get more gear or work on my marketing skills. And like, I think what kind of happened for me is like, I never set out to really be like a content creator. But what had happened is like, the first thing that really happened for me is quite some time ago, but I had two things back to back that kind of happened. A friend of mine was filming a gig with my trio, and I was getting ready to do a solo, and like right away the stick just flew off and disappeared. And like my instinct was I grabbed the beer next to me and chugged it and did a one-hand roll. And we quick chopped it up, put it online, and it was like, I think it was on YouTube, but it went through Facebook. And it was like, I woke up the next day and it was like just messages. And I'm like, what happened? And then I said, people in Australia, hey man, your video's going crazy. It's on this, it's on that. And like the light bulb went off like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a thing.
There's a market for
There's a market
drummers.
for dropping sticks, making mistakes, which is something I embrace.
Yeah.
Like I love making mistakes. That's part of what I do when I do a drum solo or clinics is like, I'm here. You can watch me make a fool of myself. I'm just going to show you what I do and something that I truly love.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then after that kind of hit, and I was like seeing the potential reach that you could get, where I was playing a gig in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but I was reaching people all around the world. It's like, well, that's pretty cool. So I started filming a little bit more just using iPhone. And I remember, again, my dog Pegasus was hanging out. He always comes right next to me when I'm playing drums, or he'll be in my hoodie, right? Sleeps. Well, he was playing with his squeaky chicken toy, and it just clicked right away. I'm like, I could put that in the hi-hat. So I did that, made a film, or it's 15 seconds or something, dropped it on Instagram, and again, Facebook, it popped and got like 1 million views. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is amazing. So then Instagram is kind of where I found my groove. And I just wanted to show the world, like, here's the idea of the day. Here's how my brain works. This is me being annoying in the bathroom or in the kitchen or playing with squeaky dog toys. And doing like the first touch of the day, just saying, sit down and play. Like, don't worry about being judged. Don't worry about the YouTube haters or Instagram haters. Like, just show the world what you love to do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it happened for me. And I'm still kind of like, I'm not a content creator, but it's like, we all are, we all like to share our lives one way or another. And it used to be photographs, and now it's videos, so it's fun because I get to meet like wonderful people, come down to Sweetwater, hang out, meet all these inspiring musicians and bounce off ideas, and also find that we have, we have a support group.
That story resonates so much with the idea of not trying to like curate this perfect take, and also like the breaking through the fear of like not posting something because it's like not the perfect like. And so like we all have 1 million drummer friends, a lot of which are better than us, but they don't necessarily have viewership or whatever. They're gigging, they're working, and then you talk to them and they're like, yeah, but I didn't like, it's hard for me to get that one perfect take. I'm like, man, it doesn't, people, you're so good, just post it. Like, if you want people to see it, you want to like, I want to see your videos selfishly. Like, can you post more? I don't care if you hit a rim click, like, let me just see it.
Yeah.
And that process of like just throwing spaghetti at the wall, like, it's so good to just get it out, and then you never know what will speak with someone. And it makes, especially for kids, seeing like these amazing drummers be human, be like, oh, that dude is amazing in that clip, and then also amazing in this clip, but he did clip his rim. It's okay if I clip my rim. I just got to keep practicing. Like, it creates this like human, like the
relatability aspect.
Yeah, exactly. The curtain has been drawn back, and like, you can get better at drums. You don't just have to like try to be a MIDI robot, right?
I fully believe that's like a large portion of the reason that I had any success at all when it comes to like the drum landscape. I mean, there's a lot of hard work and a lot of effort and a lot of skills behind the drums, but like my lane was and is relatability and like being somebody that people can watch and be like, hey, I think I could do that if I practice a little bit, or hey, I can already do that, or hey, that's cool, let me sit down and play it, you know? And like everybody's got to have your lane, and that's something you got to understand. But the relatability aspect of like not pretending to be perfect all the time, like that's where it's like, you know, nobody wants to see you as absolute perfection, never make a mistake. Like then they're like kind of like, oh well, I'll never be that good. You know, it's almost more discouraging than to understand that even your heroes make mistakes. You know, not like, you know, when I think of it from that perspective, I think of one of my favorite show memories is I went and saw Neil Peart when he was like pretty old. I can't remember how old he was, but like, you know how good the dude is. So I was laser zoned in on him for the entire show because I wanted to see if he ever made a mistake. And, you know, he played 17,682,000 notes in that, you know, 2-hour show. And I could only pinpoint like 2 things that I didn't think were like right in the entire show. But to me, it was like, okay, so there was a human back there and it's not a real robot, you know? I mean, maybe it was a robot. I don't know, but it was impressive. So that's really fun. I like, those are the stories that inspire me to, you know, like think outside the box. The chicken thing, like I love that. I think that that's what people are looking for, especially in this day and age where like you have to constantly evolve for the algorithm. You have to constantly evolve for the content. You can't just be like, hey, you know, 10 years ago I was making drum covers and that's what people wanted to see, or hey, this education style is like, no, they want something completely different now, and you got to discover that.
Well, I think it's important too of like still embracing the child's mind. You know, like when any of us started out doing anything that we love to do, it could be painting, it could be raking, it could be cooking, playing drums, right? Like you don't just sit and be like, oh, there's so many people better than me. You're like, this is something I'm really interested in. What is this? Like when I was a little kid, you know, I grew up in the country. I'm the youngest of 5. There's a 21-year gap between myself and the eldest sibling. So I was just little Scotty running around with like horses and cows and dogs. And then there's a drum kit. And I would do most of my playtime at the drum kit. And like I would build blanket forts in the drum kit. And I remember I would take the drums apart, I'd move them around, I'd roll them, I'd yell into them, blow air into them. And it was like, that's all the stuff I'm working on now. Like allowing the drum set to be a playground. And then allowing other people to see that it's okay to make mistakes. We are human. You can get out of bed and trip over yourself. You can have a bad day, but music is about expression and expressing yourselves. And in this day and age when there's so many people alive, AI is thriving, everything is social media and platforms, like you still can be an individual and have something to share and inspire, choose to inspire instead of knock people down. And that's what I think is really unique with everyone, you know. We've been hanging out today and stuff.
For sure.
And the moment, you know, we were looking at each other and you did this, I was going to literally do it. You just did a finger roll at the wall. And I was like, I was going to do that. Like I look at stuff and go, I wonder what that sounds like. You know? So it's cool to share that side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
The same thing too, on the other side, like we know there's some influencers out there that are crushing it, and maybe they do 100 takes and everything's edited and all that stuff. And that's great. And that's part of their thing. But how's that going to translate live? Because that's another ballpark too that you have. And that's where I like to share that element is I'm human. I'm going to drop a stick. I literally practice dropping sticks in recoveries because you know it's going to happen. So why not embrace that? You know,
when it comes to gear, what is like the best piece of gear or like genre of gear that you've ever invested your money into? Like if you were going to like tell someone like, hey, if you want to do content creation, you know, my camera was my biggest purchase, or my recording interface, or my microphone. Like, what is it for you?
For me, I have a Zoom handy recorder, which I do like, but I'll still post video. I'd still just use my phone for most things. And you know, my biggest thing, Casey Neistat said it a million times in all of his videos, but like the best camera is the one that's within arm's reach in the moment. Like, and that's how my videos are often. Again, I'm like teaching all day and I'm like, I want to go film some drums, and I I have this idea real quick, like prop it up on the desk, put it on, like balance it up on the wall, like wherever I can get it. But so for camera, you know, I still have a lot to learn with that, which is why was super stoked to come here and be like, what cameras does everybody actually use? Because I'm just using my phone. But as far as the best investment during all this to help create my content, I found was the Yamaha EAD 10. Because again, I don't have the brain or background knowledge of like drum mics, recording. I often get frustrated when I'm messing with like electronic stuff. I'm just like, does it work? No. All right, let me just put that there. And so when I figured out that you could just mount that to your bass drum and it like took care of the whole thing for me, I was sold, and I was like able to crank videos out way more. So that was my I was super excited when I got that. But I also have messed around having like a little 2 mic setup, but yeah, that would be my answer. The Yamaha EAD 10.
Yeah, that's great, especially
Such a nice
for drummers. Like that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned like the Zoom Handy Recorder thing, and for me, a Tascam Portacapture X8 is very similar. Multiple mic inputs, but completely battery operated. You could take it on the go.
Yeah,
I've done so many different shoots where it's like mic up a small kit like this, or just a small 4 mic setup on a kit, or now I'm just going to use a stereo recorder from the front. And it really plug in a quick talking mic. Like you can do it all with something like that. Record to a little SD card. What about you, Scott?
I'm kind of in the same boat over here. Like to piggyback, the Yamaha EAD definitely is a game changer.
You're welcome, Yamaha.
Yeah, you're welcome. I have no affiliation either, right? It was like, I think I got it in 2020. A friend of mine called me and said, you're gonna just love this thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. So I got it, and just for practice and hanging out, it was really inspiring. But then it was like, oh, you can just throw this up on the bass drum, or you can
I've used it live.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I played
slick.
this wedding gig, and we didn't really have, it was there anyway. There wasn't, I think the interface that the guitarist brought like didn't really have anything. We didn't really have mics, and I was like, I have this, and you just use a 1/4 inch, and it was like all we needed was the kick to just be a little bit louder in the small like wedding venue. And it was perfect. It was like, oh, no, live. I didn't even think of it as a live thing until that moment. But yeah, it works. So if you want to play a wedding gig with your Yamaha EAD, go for it.
You can do it. You've heard it here from Eric Proctor and Scott Pellegrom. The only thing that you need is an Yamaha EAD. Send the ad dollars, Yamaha.
Yeah,
please. This has been great. These guys just shower them in all the EADs, as many as they can take. Well, welcome back. We have now played musical chairs yet again. We have maneuvered the Joshua Crawford over here, Mr. Josh Drum Class, Mr. Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Mr. Flamin' Hot Feet. We're going to make you play some double bass in a little bit. I'm just saying. Well, welcome. I want to hear your story of becoming a content creator, because we have heard Mr. Eric's here. And so let's get you caught up on that. What is it that made you want to be or made you into a content creator? And what can we learn from your story?
Okay, so let's start off. My journey started on accident.
Okay. A lot of them do.
It was actually my youngest brother that made a YouTube channel. I knew what YouTube was at the time. Even till now, I watch YouTube more than cable, more than Netflix. It's just like it's a little addicting just seeing content creators be completely creative, and you see them like it's to the point where your celebrities are being content creators now. So so I started messing around. I uploaded a terrible 20-minute drum solo when I was 17 on my brother's channel, and it messed around and got 24,000 views in like maybe 5 months.
Don't flex on us.
Yeah, and then my brother forgot his password.
I
was locked out of that channel for 4 years.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Because he forgot his recovery email too. So yeah.
Thanks, Google.
Yeah. One day he just remembered it. I don't know how, but
oh man,
he did that. I got it, changed the email immediately.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was the password, right?
Close.
Okay.
Close.
Yeah, there was
Password
a 9 in
1.
there somewhere.
But yeah, so picked it back up. I started doing drum lessons. The drum lessons were okay. A lot of I didn't understand at the time. Like, shout out to you for doing drum lessons. Like that is so like it's kind of difficult now because of YouTube's view duration stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what I noticed going on is they will watch the drum lesson, they'll see me break it down and leave. So view durations maybe 3 seconds. So that's I'm like, okay, no more lessons for me. I can't. And that at the time, like reaction videos were very popular. And it was actually my sister that said, like, you know, you watch YouTube a lot and watch all these drum videos. Why don't you make a reaction channel? I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how to do it first. So pretty much trial and error, learned how to do it. Filmed first reaction video, I reacted to CJ Thompson. I was at 2,000 subscribers at the time. That video hit 10K in a day, got me to 3,000. I was like, okay, yeah, this is something to do. Like
this is what the people want. Give them what the people want.
It took 3 years of doing drum lessons to get 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, and it just took off from there. Just being consistent, and then channel gets hacked. 2020.
No,
channel gets hacked.
Was it your brother re-logging in?
I wish. Oh my goodness!
It's that
man.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 with a 9 password.
That's probably what they use to download. Oh my goodness, man!
Oh man!
But yeah, that shook up the whole thing. Like so many people, it got to the point where my next door neighbor. Now I kind of think he hacked my channel because I haven't heard from him in a while. Like we don't even really speak. He knocked on the door. Hey man, did your channel get hacked?
Just happened to know.
Yeah, it did. But
what's his address? Just go ahead and put it on blast. Wait, you live
know
next
my
door
address,
though,
yeah.
so all right. I will say we can, you know, my Twitter was hacked, and so now I'm apparently some sort of big time like Bitcoin and like all sorts of altcoins, and like that's what I sell all day long, and I can't get it back, so I just gave up, and now.
Man.
Yeah, so hacking's no fun.
Yes, not.
My password wasn't 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, but it also wasn't, you know, HE57X-79 upside down W. You're like, what?
So what you're saying is now it is though.
Yo, for sure, yeah.
My password should have been a paradiddle.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. All caps. That would have helped.
Anyway, so back to the story. Your neighbor hacked your channel, and you guys are not friends anymore.
So yeah, I got in contact eventually through from YouTube through Twitter. They was able to, no problem. It took maybe 2 weeks to get the channel back.
Did you say Twitter helped you get your stuff back?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, well, obviously there's some sort of preferential treatment here because they won't respond to me.
X, so okay. I don't know how they operate now.
All right.
So yeah, but yeah, I got the channel back, and crazy thing happened within that week when I went viral and went from. That's when I was able to hit 100,000 subscribers, and yeah.
That's awesome.
Things went crazy.
Great.
Yep.
So I think that one of the lessons in your story is give the people what they want, you know, and that's because when you created the content that you were excited about and then they responded well to, like that helped you.
Yeah, and they connected to my passion to drums, and like you was mentioning earlier about it's okay for you to make mistakes in front of people that look up to you. And like if I made a mistake, it's there. They related to it. I remember one time I was watching Calvin Rogers. I was like, he's just amazing. A friend of mine, David Frank.
Yep.
Yeah, he had DM'd me. He was like, hey, check this video out. It's a video of him. He was doing an intro with Fred Hammond, and Fred Hammond had to tell him to get back in the pocket. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I guess the intro was going on too long. He took his hat off. He's like, this is the tempo right here. I'm like, it can happen to anybody. I'm like, okay, yeah. Now I feel way better. But yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like that connection between and that's like the powerful thing about reaction videos. If you are a fan of somebody and they see something that you've seen and found just crazy, you just want to see what their reaction is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crazy drummers out there, and that's pretty much how that happened. Yeah.
I love that, man. And I love every time we get to hang out and I get to, watch you play drums and stuff, which we're about to go play some drums right now, kick, hat, and snare drum over with Mr. Scott Pellegrom in the video studios. So you guys make sure you follow all the guys in the channel today, all the drummers, all the content creators. Our hope with content like this is to show you that you can make content, you can go after what it is that you want to do. It is within reach. None of us started out like knowing how to do all this stuff. None of us started out being as good as we are now at it. It's a learning process. Yep. It is something that every story can inspire you, and really do something you love and try and add value to the world. That's like the key to being a content creator that gets somewhere, is you give value to people through the content that you create because you love to do it. And that's a good note there. From Drum Month at Sweetwater, we thank you for watching. Let's play some drums.
Alrighty.